I've been awake for 40 hours straight. My hands are shaking as I check his pulse. The Korean Mafia boss who's holding me hostage in his own dying body. My phone won't stop buzzing. 15 missed calls from my mama. My daughter's fever spiked to 104. And he's looking at me with those eyes, the ones that see everything, and he whispers, "Go to her. Let me die." That's when I realized the monster was never him. It was me. Because I don't know if I can walk away. Subscribe to Afro Seoul romance tales for forbidden love stories that hit different. My name is Mariah Wells. I'm a nurse from Atlanta. And 3 months ago, I made a deal with the devil to save my family. But what I didn't know is that saving his life would cost me everything I loved. Let me take you back to where this nightmare started. 6 months ago, I was drowning. Working 3 jobs just to keep my daughter Jasmine alive. She has a rare blood disorder that requires experimental treatment. $8,000 a month that insurance won't cover. And her father, my ex-husband? He walked out the day we got the diagnosis. Looked me dead in my eyes and said he couldn't watch his baby girl die. So he left us both to face it alone. I became a machine. Grady Memorial Hospital, Monday through Wednesday. Piedmont Healthcare, Thursday through Saturday. Weekend shifts at Northside. 70, sometimes 80 hours a week. I stopped sleeping. Stopped eating properly. My mama Gloria would call me crying, begging me to slow down before I killed myself. But what choice did I have? Let my daughter die because I was too tired to work? I'd already failed one person I loved. I couldn't do it again. I was 16 when my baby sister Kendra died. Sickle cell disease. We couldn't afford proper treatment. I was working doubles at Walmart, trying to help Mama with the bills. The night Kendra got bad, I was on my shift. Mama called me, told me to come to the hospital. But I had 3 more hours before I could leave. I needed that paycheck. I'd been saving for weeks to buy Kendra a purple bicycle for her birthday. By the time I clocked out and made it to Grady Memorial, she was gone. 14 years old with the biggest smile you ever saw. And I wasn't there. I was at work. I've been trying to make up for that night ever since. Trying to save everyone. Trying to prove that I'm not the girl who chose a paycheck over her sister's last breath. That's who I was when Hyun-woo crashed into my life. If you're not already subscribed, do it now. Because what happens next changed everything. It was 2 a.m. on a Tuesday in March. I was on hour 32 of what was supposed to be a 16-hour shift. 2 nurses called out sick and the ER was understaffed. I was so tired I could barely see straight. Then the trauma bay doors exploded open. For men in expensive suits. Speaking rapid Korean. Half carrying, half dragging a man bleeding out all over my clean floors. No ambulance. No paramedics. Just blood and panic and the sharp smell of gunpowder. The second I saw them, I knew. These weren't regular people. The way they moved, the way the youngest one put his hand inside his jacket where I could see the outline of a gun. I should have called the police. That's protocol. Gunshot wounds get reported. But the look in their eyes told me that calling the cops would get me killed before I finished dialing. So I did what I was trained to do. I saved him. 2 bullets. One through the shoulder. One that nicked his pulmonary artery. He was bleeding out on my table, his heart stopping, his lips turning blue. I worked on him for 47 minutes. Chest compressions so hard I cracked his ribs. Sweat pouring down my face. Blood soaking through my scrubs. And I was crying. I don't know why, but I was crying and begging him not to die. He coded twice. Twice I brought him back. When his eyes finally opened and locked on mine, something shifted in the air. He didn't speak. Just stared at me with these dark eyes that looked like they'd seen the end of the world. Then he whispered in perfect English, "You're an angel of death who chose life." I'll remember that. His men paid in cash. $15,000 in $100 bills that I didn't ask questions about. Then they disappeared into the night with him. I went home, showered the blood off, kissed my sleeping daughter, and tried to forget the man with a graveyard in his eyes. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, they came for me. It was a Friday night. I'd just gotten home from a double shift. Still in my scrubs, reheating leftover Chinese food in my tiny kitchen. Jasmine was at Mama's house because I'd been working so much I barely saw my own child anymore. I was alone, exhausted, barely holding it together. Then I heard my apartment door unlock. Not picked, not forced. Someone used a key like they owned the place. 3 men in expensive suits walked into my apartment. And in the middle of them, moving slowly like every step hurt, was him. Hyun-woo, the man I'd saved. He looked better than he had on my table, but still pale, still careful, one hand pressed against his shoulder where I'd dug that bullet out. He sat down at my kitchen table without being invited. Looked around my apartment with its peeling wallpaper and broken AC unit and Jasmine's crayon drawings on the refrigerator. Then he slid a manila folder across to me. "I need a private nurse," he said. "You." I told him no. Told him I had a job, a daughter, a life. Told him to get out before I called the police. He smiled. Not a kind smile. The smile of someone who knows the punchline before you do. Then he opened the folder. Photos. My brother James leaving his construction site. My mama walking out of Sunday service. And Jasmine. My baby girl on the playground at school, braids flying, going down the slide with that gap-toothed smile that destroys me every time I see it. My blood went ice cold. "I'm not threatening them," he said quietly. "I'm showing you what I can protect. Or what I can lose interest in protecting. Your brother James owes my organization $50,000. Gambling debts. He's been running for 6 months. I could collect in the traditional way. Or you could work for me, and I'll consider the debt paid. Plus, I'll triple your salary. And I'll cover every cent of Jasmine's medical treatment. Every medication. Every therapy. Every hospital bill. You'll never have to choose between rent and saving your daughter again." I stared at those photos. At my baby's face. At my brother who'd gotten himself into something he couldn't escape. At my mama who'd already buried one daughter and couldn't survive burying a granddaughter. "What do you need a nurse for?" I whispered. He looked me straight in the eyes. "I'm dying. The same blood disorder killing your daughter is killing me. Rare. Genetic. Fatal. I don't trust hospitals. I don't trust doctors who can be bought by my enemies. But you, Mariah. You saved my life when letting me die would have been safer. That kind of integrity can't be bought. So I'm borrowing you. 6 months. Maybe less. Keep me alive as long as possible. When I die, you're free. Your brother's debt dies with me. Jasmine's bills are paid forever. You walk away with enough money to never work 3 jobs again. And if I say no? Then I collect from James the way my business demands. Jasmine's treatment stays your problem. And you go back to killing yourself one shift at a time until there's nothing left to save." He gave me 24 hours to decide. That night I sat in Jasmine's empty bedroom surrounded by her stuffed animals and Princess Night Light, and I broke. Cried until my ribs hurt. Because I knew what choice I was going to make. The same choice I always make. Save everyone else. Sacrifice myself. But this time felt different. This time the monster making the offer was also offering me a way out. I called him the next morning. Told him I'd do it. He said, "I'll send a car." And just like that, I became the property of a dying criminal. 3 weeks later, my daughter asked me a question that shattered my heart into pieces I'm still trying to put back together. The first month in Hyun-woo's penthouse was pure survival mode. I kept my head down, did my job, and tried not to think about what I'd become. The place was obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Atlanta. Marble everything. A kitchen bigger than my entire apartment. Medical equipment that cost more than I'd make in 10 years. He gave me my own room. Told me I'd stay 6 nights a week. Sundays I could go home. See Jasmine. Pretend I had a normal life. 1 day a week with my daughter. That's what I'd sold my soul for. I quit 2 of my 3 jobs. Told Grady I'd found a private position with better pay. They didn't ask questions. Nurses leave all the time. I kept my weekend shift because I needed some connection to my real life. Some proof I was still the person I used to be. Hyun-woo was a perfect patient. Polite. Quiet. Professional. He never asked personal questions. Never touched me inappropriately. Never made me feel unsafe. Somehow that made it worse. I wanted to hate him. Needed to hate him. But he wouldn't let me. He ran his empire from a laptop and phone calls in Korean I couldn't understand. Men came and went, always respectful, always careful not to disturb me. Sometimes I'd hear raised voices from his office. Once I heard gunshots through a phone call and watched his face go blank as he gave orders in a voice that froze my blood. But with me he was different. Gentle. Almost careful. Like I was something breakable. Why me? I asked him one night while changing his four. There are thousands of nurses in Atlanta. Why did it have to be me? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, because when I was dying on your table, you cried. I heard you doing chest compressions, crying, saying please don't go, please stay, like my life mattered. A stranger. A criminal. Someone you should have let die. But you fought for me like I was worth saving. No one's ever done that. I wanted to tell him I cry for all my patients. That it wasn't personal. But that would have been a lie. The truth was, in that moment covered in his blood, I had wanted him to live. Not because of who he was. Because of who I am. The girl who couldn't save her sister. Who spent every day since trying to make up for it by saving everyone else. Week 6, everything fell apart. Mama called at 2 a.m. I was doing Hyun-woo's overnight vitals when my phone lit up with her face. The second I heard her voice I knew. Jasmine's fever spiked to 105. She was delirious. Calling for me. Crying because I wasn't there. The hospital needed to admit her. They needed permission for the next treatment round. They needed her mother. I have to go, I told Hyun-woo, already grabbing my bag. He sat up slowly. Go. Just like that. No argument. No threats. Just permission. I spent 3 days at Grady Memorial in a chair next to Jasmine's bed, holding her small hand while she fought through another round of treatment that might buy her a few more months. She looked so tiny in that hospital bed. So fragile. When she opened her eyes and saw me, she smiled so big it broke something in my chest. You came, she whispered. Of course I came, baby. Mama always comes when you need me. But we both knew that was a lie. On day 3, my brother James showed up. He looked terrible. Thin. Bruised knuckles. That hunted look of someone running from demons they can't escape. He stood in the doorway like he wasn't sure he was allowed in. Heard my niece was sick, he said quietly. You could have checked on her 6 months ago. Before you gambled away $50,000 and sold your sister to the Mafia to cover your debts. He flinched. Mariah, I'm sorry. I didn't know they'd come for you. I thought I could handle it, I thought. You never think, James. You just do. And everyone else pays for it. He left without meeting Jasmine's eyes. And I sat there wondering when I'd become so bitter. Wondering if Hyun-woo had done this to me or if I'd always had this anger waiting for an excuse to surface. When I got back to the penthouse 3 days later, Hyun-woo was worse. Gray skin. Shallow breathing. He'd refused to let anyone else help him while I was gone. Just waited. Suffering alone rather than let anyone touch him. You're an idiot, I said, checking his vitals with shaking hands. You could have died. I've been dying for 2 years. 3 more days wouldn't matter. It would have mattered to me. He looked at me then. Really looked. And said, I know. That's when everything changed between us. Stay with me. Subscribe to Afro Soul Romance Tales because what comes next will destroy you in the best way. It started with conversations. Small things at first. He'd ask about Jasmine during treatments. I'd tell him stories. How she wanted to be a veterinarian. How she hummed when she was nervous, this tuneless melody that made me want to cry because it meant she was scared, but trying to be brave. He told me about his sister. Younger. In college in Seoul studying art. She didn't know what he really did. Thought he was a businessman. He sent her money every month. Made sure she never struggled the way he had. Why this life? I asked one night. You're smart enough to be anything. Why choose this? He was quiet. Then he rolled up his sleeve and showed me scars. Cigarette burns. Knife wounds. The kind that tell stories no child should have. I didn't choose this, he said. My father ran this organization. When he was killed, I was 15. His enemies wanted to wipe out his bloodline. I had 2 choices. Die with honor or live without it. I chose my sister's life over my soul. I'd make that choice again. And I understood. Because wasn't that what I was doing? Choosing Jasmine's life over everything else? Trading pieces of myself to buy her more time? We were the same. Both sacrificing everything for the people we loved. Both so busy saving everyone else we'd forgotten how to save ourselves. The night I knew I was falling for him, Jasmine called me at 11 p.m. I was reading in Hyun-woo's room while he slept. My phone lit up with her face. That photo from her 8th birthday, chocolate cake on her cheek, eyes bright with pure joy. "Mommy," she sobbed. "It hurts. Everything hurts. I don't want to be sick anymore. I want it to stop." "I know, baby. I know. But you're so strong." "I don't want to be strong. I want to be normal. I want to go to school and play with friends and not go to hospitals all the time. I want you to come home." "Mommy, why can't you just come home?" I couldn't answer. Because the truth was I could come home. Hyun-woo had told me weeks ago I was free to leave. James's debt was forgiven. He'd keep paying for Jasmine's treatment regardless. The only thing keeping me here was my own choice. And I didn't know when I'd started choosing him. Hyun-woo woke up and found me on the floor, phone in hand, trying to breathe through guilt that was crushing my chest. He didn't ask questions. Just sat next to me in his expensive silk pajamas and waited. "She asked why I can't come home," I finally said. "And I don't have an answer. James's debt is paid. You said I could leave. So why am I still here?" He was quiet so long I thought he wouldn't answer. "Then you're still here because leaving me feels like letting someone die. And you've spent your whole life unable to do that." He was right. But it was more than that now. Somewhere between late-night conversations and quiet moments, and the way he looked at me like I was the only good thing in his dark world, I'd stopped seeing him as my captor. I'd started seeing him as just a man. Dying. Alone. Trying to protect his sister the same way I was trying to protect my daughter. And I'd fallen in love with him. The night everything I thought I knew shattered started like any other. Until I heard the crash. It was 3 months into our arrangement. I was in my room on the phone with Mama when I heard it. Found Hyun-woo on his bathroom floor. Unconscious. Blood trickling from his nose. Heart rate erratic. Breathing shallow. His body was rejecting the treatment. I called his doctor. We worked through the night trying every protocol I knew. Nothing helped. By 4 a.m. I knew. This was the beginning of the end. When he woke up, weak and barely able to speak, the first thing he said was, "Don't cry. You did everything you could." I hadn't realized I was crying. "How long?" he asked. I couldn't answer. "Mariah." "How long?" "Weeks. Maybe a month if we're lucky." He nodded like he'd expected this his whole life. Then he reached for my hand, his grip so weak I barely felt it. "I need you to promise something. When I die, take Jasmine and disappear. I've made arrangements. Money in an account under your name. Enough for her treatment for life. Enough so you never work again. But you have to leave Atlanta. My enemies will come for everyone I cared about. I need you safe. I can't take your money. It's not mine anymore. It's yours. I'm giving you what I should have given from the beginning. A choice. Freedom to save your daughter without destroying yourself. Why are you doing this?" He smiled. Sad and tired. "Because you saved me. Not just my life. You saved the part of me I thought was dead. You reminded me what it feels like to be human. To care about something besides survival. I'm dying, Mariah. But because of you, I got to live first." That's when I kissed him. I don't know who moved first. Maybe both. Maybe neither. Maybe it was inevitable. This collision of two broken people trying to find something whole in each other. He tasted like medicine and mint and goodbye. His hands shook when they touched my face. When he pulled back, there were tears on his cheeks. "I can't ask you to love a dying man," he whispered. "You're not asking. I'm choosing." And that's when everything I'd been holding together for months finally broke wide open. We had 3 weeks. 3 weeks of stolen moments that I'll carry for the rest of my life. He told me stories about his childhood, about his sister, about regrets and wishes and roads not taken. I read to him when he was too weak to stay awake. Held his hand through the bad nights when pain was so overwhelming he couldn't speak. Jasmine got better. The treatment was finally working. Her numbers improved. Doctors were cautiously optimistic. I should have been celebrating. Should have been grateful. But all I could think was my daughter was living and the man I loved was dying. And I was the one keeping them both alive. And I didn't know how much longer I could carry that weight. Mama figured it out. Came to the penthouse one Sunday when I was supposed to be home, but couldn't leave Hyun-woo's side. She took one look at us, at our hands intertwined, and she knew. "Baby," she said quietly. "What are you doing?" "I don't know. I don't know anymore." She sat on the edge of his bed, looked at him with eyes that had seen too much loss. "You love my daughter?" He nodded. "More than my own life." "Then you make sure she doesn't lose herself trying to save you. You hear me? She's already lost too much. She can't lose herself too." He promised. I think he meant it. 2 days later, he made me go home. Told me to spend the day with Jasmine. Take her to the aquarium like I'd been promising. Be her mother instead of his nurse. "I'll be fine for one day," he said. "Go. Live. For both of us." So I did. Took Jasmine to the Georgia Aquarium. We watched whale sharks and she held my hand and asked if I was done working so much. I lied and said yes. Said everything would be different now. Said I'd be home more. I meant it. God help me, I meant it. When I got back that night, he was gone. I searched for 2 weeks. When I finally found him, I wasn't prepared for what I'd see. The penthouse was empty. All his equipment, his things, everything. Just a note on the kitchen counter in his handwriting. "Mariah, I released you once and you chose to stay. So I'm making the choice for you. I won't let you watch me die. I won't let you become the girl who wasn't there when her sister died. Go home. Be Jasmine's mother. Let me go. The money is yours. James's debt is forgiven. You're free. I'm sorry I couldn't love you without it hurting. But I'll love you until my last breath. And beyond if there's anything after. Thank you for saving me. Now save yourself. Hyun-woo." I fell to my knees in that empty penthouse and screamed. Not because he left. Because he was right. For 2 weeks I was a ghost. Going through motions. Taking care of Jasmine. Working my shifts. Pretending I was fine while my heart broke in ways I didn't know were possible. Then Jasmine asked, "Mommy, why are you so sad?" I couldn't lie anymore. Told her everything. About Hyun-woo. About taking care of him. About him being sick like her. About how he left to protect me from watching him die. About loving him and not knowing what to do with that love now that he was gone. She was quiet. Then she climbed in my lap, this beautiful brave girl who'd been through so much, and said, "You should find him, Mommy. When I was really sick and scared, you being there made it hurt less. Maybe you can make it hurt less for him too." Out of the mouths of babes. I found him in a hospice outside the city. Small. Private. Expensive. The kind of place people go to die with dignity. What happened in that hospice room will stay with me forever. He was in a room with windows overlooking a garden. So thin. But alive. Still alive. When he saw me in his doorway, he smiled. That sad, beautiful smile. "You're not supposed to be here," he said. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." I pulled a chair next to his bed. Took his hand. Felt how weak his pulse was. How cold his skin. How labored his breathing. All the signs I'd been trained to recognize. "How long?" I asked. "Days. Maybe a week. Then I'm staying." "Mariah. No. You don't get to make this choice for me. You don't get to decide I'm too fragile to handle this. I've handled everything life's thrown at me. I can handle this too. I want to be here. Let me be here." And he did. I spent 6 days at his bedside. Jasmine came once. Brought him a drawing. An angel with a stethoscope. He cried. Told her she'd grow up to be amazing. Made her promise to take care of her mama. She promised. Mama came. Held my hand while I held his. Told him stories about loss and love and how hearts break but keep beating. James came. Stood in the doorway looking broken. Said I'm sorry. Said thank you. Said I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm asking anyway. Hyun-woo told him, take care of them. Your sister and niece. Be the man they need. James promised. I think he meant it. On the 6th day, Hyun-woo's sister arrived from Seoul. Young. Beautiful. She looked so much like him. She didn't know what he really was. Still thought he was a businessman. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, he said to her in Korean. I wanted you to have a different life. She held his hand and cried and told him she loved him. That she'd always known something was wrong but hadn't wanted to see it. That she forgave him. That she understood. That night, alone with just the two of us and quiet monitor beeps, he told me he was ready. I'm not, I said. I know. But you will be. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Mariah. You're going to take this pain and transform it into something beautiful. You're going to watch Jasmine grow up. Be there for all of it. The graduations. The heartbreaks. The triumphs. Everything I won't see. And you're going to be happy. Promise me you'll be happy. I promise. He died at 3:47 a.m. Peacefully. Holding my hand. His last words were thank you for saving me. But the truth is, he saved me. It's been 6 months since Hyun-woo died. And I'm learning what it means to actually live. Jasmine is in remission. The treatments worked. She's back in school, playing with friends, being a normal kid. Every time she laughs, I hear his voice telling me to be happy. I'm trying. James got his life together. Steady job. Shows up for family dinners. Plays with Jasmine. He's trying too. I quit working 3 jobs. Now I work 1. Part-time. Because I want to, not because I have to. I'm there when Jasmine wakes up. There when she sleeps. There for everything in between. I'm learning to be present. To let go of guilt. To forgive myself for all the times I wasn't there. Some nights I dream about Hyun-woo. About our conversations. About the way he looked at me like I was precious. About those 3 weeks when we loved each other in the space between living and dying. People ask if I regret it. Regret falling in love with a dying criminal. Regret choosing those months with him over time with Jasmine. The answer is complicated. Yes, I miss time with my daughter. Yes, I made choices I can't take back. Yes, there are things I'd do differently. But Hyun-woo taught me something I'd forgotten. That I deserve to be saved too. That sacrificing yourself doesn't make you a hero. It just makes you a martyr. That love, even complicated, messy, impossible love, is worth the pain. He saved my life by dying. Gave me the gift of enough. Enough money. Enough time. Enough peace to finally heal. So no, I don't regret him. I regret we didn't have more time. I regret Jasmine won't remember the man who loved her mother enough to let her go. I regret his sister will never know how good he was beneath all the bad. But I don't regret loving him. Because he loved me first. Loved me enough to save me from myself. And that's a kind of redemption I never knew I needed. If this story touched your heart, if you felt every moment of Mariah's journey, subscribe to Afro Seoul Romance Tales. We tell stories about love that breaks the rules and hearts that heal against all odds. Stories about women who sacrifice everything and find salvation in unexpected places. This is Mariah's story. A black nurse who worked 3 shifts to save her daughter and ended up being saved by the Korean Mafia boss who wouldn't let her leave his side. It's messy. It's complicated. It's heartbreaking and beautiful and real. Just like love always is. Subscribe now. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you deserve to be saved too. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being here. This is Afro Soul Romance Tales, where forbidden love finds redemption. Until next time.